All right, I got the big trailer hooked up. The grass is soaking wet this morning. I usually had to put the Super Duty in 4-wheel drive to pull this up out of here. Let's see if the Lightning can do it. Oh yeah. Not even spinning a tire. So that's going to be pretty great. Alright, so this truck does not have the factory trailer brake controller inside the cab, so I'm going to have to use my trusty Kurt Echo here. You probably remember this from some previous videos a few years back, because some of the Jeeps, like the Gladiators that I was towing with, also did not have factory brake controllers. So I bought this thing and it works great. If you're just going to tow every once in a while, this is great, because it works through Bluetooth. You just have an app on your phone to control it with. There's no wiring to do on the truck at all. It's pretty awesome. If you're going to tow on a regular basis, I would still consider upgrading to the factory setup. You know, that way you don't have to rely on your smartphone. But, you know, for every once in a while, this is great. So I got to plug this up, plug the trailer into this, and then set it up on my phone app via Bluetooth, and we'll be ready to go. All right, so she's all hooked up. Got my Kurt Echo trailer brake controller hooked up. And now it's time to go do a little bit of towing. Now, for those of you who haven't been following this channel for a while, this trailer is a pretty big girl. It's 8.5 feet wide. It's 26 feet long. It's got 7 feet interior ceiling, which means it's 9 feet off the ground to the ceiling. It's a pretty big girl, and it's a heavy duty version. This is Homesteader's Intrepid HD line of trailers. And so basically what that means is it's got more cross members in it. It's got thicker exterior walls. It's got 5,200 pound axles, you know, and all that kind of stuff. It's basically just a heavier built trailer. And I added some windows to it. I've got the front set up with a primitive camping setup inside and all of that. So altogether, this is a pretty heavy trailer, actually. Just by itself, it's pretty heavy. And the big thing here today isn't necessarily going to be the weight as much as the frontal area. You know, a lot of guys skip over this, but if you look in the owner's manual, or the towing guide rather, all of these Ford trucks, even the Super Duties, have a maximum frontal area of the trailer that they recommend you pull. And for this particular Lightning, this trailer right here is maxing out that frontal area. So it's going to catch a lot of wind, and that, I think, is going to be the thing that pulls down the efficiency the most. But it is a big, heavy trailer, and so it's going to be interesting to see how this does. So back in the truck now, you can see that I'm at 89% of charge, getting all kinds of messages here. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to go to trip number 2. And I'm going to reset this one, and that way we can kind of track how many miles we go and what the efficiency is going to be. Now you can see that, you know, I haven't been towing with this truck yet, and I'm getting some really good efficiency out of this thing. I've been seeing 2.7 to 2.8 for the last month that I've had this truck, and I've been all over the place. I've been on 70-mile-an-hour interstates. The other day I was headed to Lexington, Kentucky. I had the cruise set at 79 miles an hour. Obviously, I've got rural roads that I drive. I mean, I go all over the place, and I'm seeing 2.7 to 2.8 constantly with this truck, which from everything I'm seeing is really good, because most guys say that they only get like 2.1, 2.2 maybe. So this truck, for some reason, seems to be really efficient. However, we've got a huge trailer back there today, so when I reset this and take off down the road, we're probably going to see some pretty bad numbers. But that's why I'm doing this. I need to plan, and in order to plan my trips, I need to know what kind of efficiency it's going to get with my specific trailer behind me. So that's one of the reasons I'm doing this. Now, I'm going to be on, again, like I said, 1-lane county roads, 2-lane highways, 4-lane highways, and I'm going to do some interstate 70-mile-per-hour driving on this loop also. So everything that you could possibly drive on with a trailer is going to be included in this test. So this should be pretty interesting. Trailer connection detected. Well, that's good. So I'll go ahead and add a new trailer here and set this up and then we will be on our way. So I just reset this. We're headed down the road. The truck is estimating that I can pull this trailer 131 miles, which, that would be pretty good. But we'll see, because if I head down the road here and this starts to fall as it adjusts itself, then that'll get interesting. But anyway, that's where we are right now. I'll come back in just a few minutes and give you an update, and we'll just see how this is going. All right, so we're out on the 4-lane. Well, here in Kentucky, we call these parkways. It's basically an interstate. 4 lanes, 70 miles an hour, speed limit, limited access road. So for all intents and purposes, it's just like an interstate. But anyhow, we're headed down the road here, and some early thoughts. First of all, the power that this thing has is very impressive. Very, very impressive. Like I said before, going from the Power Stroke diesel to this truck was not much of an adjustment because of how much power this thing puts down. It feels very, very similar to a deleted diesel truck. I mean, you're putting all kinds of power on the ground as far as torque goes, and you can feel it. Because when you get into the throttle, it just puts you back in the seat and goes, and it doesn't care if it's got a trailer behind it, which you can see we got a great big trailer still behind us, which is good. Hasn't come loose yet. But anyway, there goes a Power Stroke pulling a trailer right there. But yeah, as far as power goes, no issues whatsoever. Braking is great also because of the combination of the regenerative, boy, that's hard for me to say, regenerative braking and the brakes that are on the trailer, of course. The Kurt Echo set up pretty easily, and it's working great. So the trailer brakes and the braking on the truck doing great also. I feel like I can stop this trailer in a very short distance if I need to. So that brings us to handling. So the handling on this, as you would imagine, that's where it's going to be quite a bit different from a heavy-duty truck. This thing is very floaty, feels like a Cadillac going down the road here. I'm just bouncing up and down and floating. When large vehicles pass me, I feel a little bit squirrely. You can feel the wind resistance kind of shift the tail of the truck around a little bit. And yes, I do have the trailer loaded very evenly. So we'll go ahead and get that out of the way. But yeah, it just feels a little more squirrely and more floaty. And again, it's not a heavy duty truck, so it's not intended to tow big loads all the time, but like I said, a couple times a year should be fun. Here goes a semi truck. This ought to be interesting. Yeah, see, it's just a little bit, I don't know if you can tell it on camera, but it's kind of making the truck bob around in the lane a little bit. I mean, it's not horrible, but you can definitely tell it. Now, you can feel the wind resistance from this trailer, and that's what I was saying. I figured that the wind resistance that this tall trailer catches would be the story today, and you can feel the wind resistance hitting that trailer. Now, to be fair, same deal on every other truck that I've had. Every other truck that I've towed with, it's the same thing. Now, the diesel truck, you don't notice it as much because the diesel truck itself is so heavy, laws of physics, right? But you can tell that trailer's back there. Anytime you pull a big enclosed trailer or a big camper like this that's got a flat nose or a relatively flat nose, you're gonna feel it. And it's no different here in the Lightning. So I noticed that the computer told me it's 66 degrees outside, and I just got a message that said that the range of the battery has been revised due to the ambient temperature. So it went from showing me 120 miles of range down to 80 miles of range, lickety split. It just changed it, revised it right there on the spot, and so now I'm down to 81%. But anyway, we'll head on down the road here and get a little more miles under our belt to make this more of a fair test and get some better data. You can see that I do have the truck, of course, in tow haul mode, which is pretty automatic on this truck. Once it detects that there's a trailer plugged into the 7-pin, it pretty much automatically sticks you in that mode. So it's in the appropriate mode for towing this. And my temperatures look good as far as the battery and the motors go. Everything is still in the normal range. Now we're going up a few hills here, and you know, these Kentucky roads, they do have some hills. You know, we're getting ready to pull up one right there ahead of us, as you can see. But the efficiency so far, as you can see, is showing a little bit below 1. We're at 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour, and it's a little worse than I was hoping for. I went into this saying to myself, anything 1.0 and higher I will be happy with. And right now it doesn't look like I'm gonna be there, but hey, we're only 12 miles in, so let's keep going and see where we end up. I'm getting close to the exit where I'm going to get off and turn around and head the other direction, but we're about 20 miles into this trip now and still seeing 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour. And that's not, like I said, that's not what I was hoping for, but I can't really say I'm surprised. I mean, again, this is a pretty big trailer, and got a lot of weight and a lot of wind resistance behind it, so I guess it just kind of is what it is, right? That dude right there must be in a hurry, because I'm going the speed limit and he just blew my doors off. Got somewhere to go on Saturday morning. So anyhow, getting ready to get off and turn around and head the other way, going kind of down a hill. You know, that's the bad thing about these videos. The camera never really shows you the terrain. It's hard to tell the terrain when you're watching a video, but we're going down a fairly steep hill right now. I'd say it's probably a 3% grade, maybe 4% grade downhill, and then as you can see, we're getting ready to go back up the hill once we get across this river right here. So again, there's some hills on the road. We're at 70 miles an hour. This is probably the least efficiency this truck's gonna get. Now, a lot of the time I will back off to 65 miles an hour if I'm actually going on a camping trip somewhere, but I'm just running 70 because I want to see, you know, what worst case scenario would be. So 0.7 is what it's showing right now. Maybe on the way back I'll back it off to 65 miles an hour, because that's, like I said, normally what I would drive with this trailer behind us if we're going on a family trip, and we'll just see if that makes any difference. But I kind of wanted to get all different speeds and road types in on this loop today, you know, for the science. So let's see. So one of the things I really do like about this truck is the towing technology that's on it. So like, for example, if I put my turn signal on to change lanes, it'll automatically switch over to a camera view and show you your blind spot down the side of your trailer. That's pretty cool, and that's the kind of stuff that's actually useful. You know, I don't think this pro trailer backup assist and all that stuff, I don't think that's very useful, in my opinion. You know, if you're a guy that's been pulling trailers for years, I think that actually makes it more difficult, because now you have to retrain your brain the other direction again. So I don't ever use that pro trailer stuff. But the features like the cameras, those are very useful and great safety features. I really appreciate that a lot. So that's going to be great. I do kind of wish that this truck had the, what Ford calls the max towing package, because that would have included the factory trailer brake controller. But, you know, like I said, if you're only towing a couple times a year, you can get one of these Kurt Echoes or something like that, and it works just fine. Not a problem at all. So I've backed it down to 65 miles an hour, like I was saying, because this is sort of realistic for me, you know, and it's not really showing me any difference from going 70 miles an hour so far. You know, that first leg of the trip, I had it set at 70, and I was at 0.7 to 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour, and now I've got it set to 65, and it's still showing 0.7. So it's not really, you know, the efficiency is not really getting any better at 65. So, you know, I guess in that case, if I felt like I was, you know, stable and the truck felt good, might as well drive 70, right? In this case, there's no sense in backing the speed off if it's not going to be more efficient. That's the main reason that I would do that when I had the gasoline and the diesel trucks. You know, it's because every 5 miles an hour made a difference in your efficiency. And if you're taking a long trip to a campground somewhere, miles per gallon add up, you know. So anyway, it is what it is. But I think what I'm going to do now, you know, I'm on this 4-lane parkway, interstate, whatever you want to call it. I think I'm going to head up some 4-lane 55-mile-an-hour roads, kind of get that mixed in here, and then I'll probably go up to like a parking lot at the park or something where we can look at how much the truck has sagged with this load on it, because I think it sagged a little bit more than I was expecting, and we'll just kind of finish up some final thoughts on towing big with one of these F-150 Lightning pickup trucks. So I will be back in just a bit. All right, so I'm getting close to the end of this section of road. 36 miles, still seeing 0.7 miles per kilowatt hour. So I guess that's just what it's going to be. It's pretty much consistently been there the whole way. So I can pretty much say 0.7 is what I'm going to get out here on a road like this. Now let's head up this 55-mile-an-hour highway and see how that changes it. Yeah, that's a good deed. I just passed a guy back there that was pulled over in the median to save a turtle. He's gonna save that turtle's life today. Good on you, buddy, good on you. So I'm on these 55-mile-per-hour speed limit highways now, and we are, what, 40 miles, almost 41 miles into the loop now, and so 46 miles of range is what I've got left. I've gone down to 47% charge, so it's dropping pretty fast actually at this point. Well, I mean, now that I'm on this lower speed limit road, I guess the bleeding has been stopped and it's not going down as fast, but it looks like the range is going to be pretty dismal if I decide to load up the truck with the camping gear and the side-by-side and all of our stuff and head down the road with this trailer behind us, an additional person or two in the truck. Yeah, I mean, the range is going to be pretty dismal. And again, kind of expected that, you know. You don't go into an electric truck purchase completely unaware of that. You expect that. So I'm gonna stop up here at the park so that we can get out and do some final thoughts and get some images from outside the truck of how it's handling the payload and the tongue weight and all that, and we'll talk to you in just a moment. You know, now that I'm looking at it, the truck really isn't squatting as bad as I thought originally. It just kind of felt like when I was dropping that trailer down on there that it was sagging pretty bad, but actually it's not as bad as I thought. So again, the Curt Echo worked out pretty good. You know, it's a very simple connection there that you make, and it's even got a rubber strap to keep it from falling out. Now on this, one thing I did notice, you know, on this truck, the 7-pin door folds down, so that kind of gives you a little bit more support there too. But yeah, I mean, it's actually doing a pretty good job of towing, you know, as far as power, braking, and all that stuff goes. And it's not sagging, like I said, it's not sagging as bad as I thought. So that's good. It's got a lot of usable payload, I guess. It's just, they've got it set up to ride so comfortably. Maybe that's why it just feels like it's sagging. You know, it gives you that sensation. So far 45 miles, 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour. Gonna head back home now and wrap this up. All right, I finally made it back home. So the total of this test loop was 51 miles. I got 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour and finished at about 41% battery. So when I left, I was at what, 89, 90% battery, finished up at about 41. So it's interesting that these two gauges don't exactly match up, you know, because I didn't use quite 50%, but anyway, it's showing less than 1 mile per kilowatt hour. So that's kind of what I expected, that it was going to be bad. I was hoping for 1 or better, but didn't quite get it. That's how it goes. All right, so what have we learned here today? This has been a really good test, and I've gotten some good data out of it for myself. You know, there's lots of towing videos with these trucks on YouTube, but everybody's got a different trailer. Everybody's got a different route that they drive. Everybody lives in different parts of the country where there's different terrain. right? So I just needed to go out today and see for myself what kind of efficiency this truck's going to get when my family takes a trip with this trailer and we go camping or whatever the case might be. So again, we did a 50-mile loop today. I was on all different types of roads, everything from private gravel roads to 1-lane roads to 2-lane highways to 4-lane highways to 4-lane interstate. We did all of it today in that 50-mile loop and finished at 0.8 miles per kilowatt hour. So some final thoughts on the F-150 Lightning. Can this truck replace a gasoline truck? Absolutely. Can it replace a heavy-duty diesel truck? To a degree. Now, obviously, if you're towing really big amounts of weight, 15,000, 20,000, 30,000 pounds, you know, if you're a farmer and you haul these huge loads of hay, you've got an equipment trailer and you haul excavators and skid steers and stuff like that. You know, if you're hauling big weight, obviously this is not a replacement for a heavy duty truck. You got to go with a heavy duty truck to be legal and to be safe. But if you're just somebody who tows a camper, this is going to be, because of the size and the shape and the weight of the trailer, this is going to be very representative of the people who pull real campers or real toy haulers. Or if you're pulling an enclosed trailer like this, hauling a car or a tractor or whatever. Or let's say you've got a pretty good sized boat, you know, whatever the case might be. If you're towing stuff like that, this truck will obviously get the job done. It's got tons of power. I cannot tell you enough how great the power is with this truck. It really, truly feels just like a diesel. The torque is right there as soon as you need it. It doesn't feel like it struggles at all pulling the trailer. So the power is definitely there. The stopping power is great. Like I was saying, the handling is a little bit more squirrely. And obviously that's just because of the fact that it's got lightweight, flimsy EV tires on it, for one thing. And it's also got a very soft tuned suspension because they want this truck to ride really nice, which it does. It's second to none in the full-size truck segment. But those things cause it to feel a little bit less stable, a little more squirrely, as we would say here in Kentucky. Not quite as confident feeling, but it's not bad. And today I did not bother to hook up my weight distribution and sway control because I was just doing a 50-mile test loop. If I was really towing this to go on a long trip, I would have my weight distribution and my sway control hooked up, which would eliminate all of those handling issues. So at the end of the day, I am very, very pleased with how this truck performed towing this trailer. It did a great job, and I had no concerns at all while out there towing, other than the range. So like everybody has seen, you're looking at less than 100 miles of range towing something like this. I figure after this test I've done today that I can realistically expect to get about 80 miles, because if I'm going to go on a trip, I'm not going to charge to 90% like I did today. I'm going to charge this all the way to 100% ahead of my trip. So I'm going to have a little bit more of a buffer there. And I feel pretty confident I can go 80 miles before I have to stop and charge again. So, you know, that's a little over an hour's worth of driving. By that time, maybe you're ready to get out and stretch your legs, you know, take a bathroom break or whatever. It could be doable for me. You know, my typical 4-hour trip to the campsite might now be a 6-hour trip to the campsite. Because instead of stopping once like I did with the diesel truck, I figure I'll have to stop 3 times with this truck to charge up. Now the issue obviously is that if you're looking at 80 miles of range, you've got to plan your trip and you've got to find public chargers, DC fast chargers, that are 80 miles apart. You don't want to find one that's 40 miles apart because that adds more stops to your trip. And obviously you can't find one that's 150 miles apart because then you're going to run out of juice and you're going to be stranded. So you kind of have to find chargers that are about 80 miles apart from each other along the path of your trip to make it more convenient, you know, and less costly. So that's going to be the challenge, I think. And again, We only do that a handful of times a year, so it's manageable for us. But if you're planning on towing a lot, you're going to tow often, this is not the truck for you. If you're going to tow really, really big loads all the time, this is not the truck for you, because the range is the thing that really limits you here. Now, interesting little tidbit about this. So I showed you when I started this trip, this truck's got almost 1,000 miles on it. I've had it for almost a month. It has been solidly averaging 2.7 to 2.8 miles per kilowatt hour. I mean, that's just what this truck gets. With the trailer today, I was at 0.7 to 0.8. Okay, so this thing lost a huge percentage of its range as soon as I hooked this trailer onto it. Now, if you compare that to a gasoline truck, like the last full-size gas truck I had on this channel was a Ram 1500 with the 5.7 Hemi. I mean, that truck might get, what, 14, 15, 16 miles per gallon, somewhere in the mid-teens, if you're not towing. And then I would hook a trailer like this to it, and it would get 8 or 9, right? So you're losing less than half of your efficiency in that case, right? I don't know, let's throw a number out there, 40% of your efficiency. The diesel truck that I traded for this one, it would get 17, 18 miles per gallon, not towing. And then I'll hook this trailer up to it and load it up, and we go on a trip, it would get maybe 10, right? So again, with an internal combustion engine, you're losing a little less than half of your efficiency. But this truck today lost way more than half of its efficiency when I hooked this trailer to it. So that's kind of an interesting dynamic. When not towing, this truck will save you significant amounts of fuel, especially if you're charging up at home. I say fuel, you know what I mean. You know, it's going to save you money by not having to fuel up. However, as we've seen, you hook a trailer to it like this and start towing, and now you're getting worse efficiency. You're gonna spend more money to tow than you would with a gas truck or a diesel truck. So that's just kind of interesting. You know, the pendulum really swings the other direction as soon as you start towing with this thing, which is kind of a shame because the performance of the truck is so good. So I guess the moral of the story here is the range is the only problem with these trucks. Now, I know the General Motors Silverado EV has more range, but it's also a lot more expensive, and it's ugly as hell, and it's a General Motors product, so it's probably junk. And then you've got trucks like the Cybertruck, the Rivian, so on and so forth, which are also much more expensive trucks. This one right here, I think Ford did a great job of keeping it an F-150 for a lot of reasons, but one of the limitations to this truck is the range, right? So that's just what you have to realize when you go into it. It's a great truck for all of the reasons that people want trucks, but the range is just going to limit you. So again, if you're just around a small area, it's not a problem. If you're going to take long trips, you're going to have to plan ahead more. But anyway, I guess that pretty much summarizes my thoughts. The performance of the truck is fantastic while towing. But the range is just going to be the thing that's a little bit of a thorn in your side, you know? So there we go, towing big with the 2025 F-150 Lightning Flash. Now, of course, the Flash in the Job 2 production, which I think is anything after January of 2025, these trucks are getting the 123 kilowatt hour battery pack, which people are calling the medium range pack, okay? Before January of this year, you had the standard range pack and you had the extended range pack. Well, this battery pack is sort of in between the two. It's a medium range pack. Again, 123 kilowatt hours of usable electricity out of this pack. That's what this truck's got. So I just wanted to throw that out there real quick. I almost forgot that little detail. If you've got the extended range pack, which is the 131 kilowatt hour usable, you're going to get a little bit more range than this, obviously, but not a whole lot more. But anyway, I just wanted to mention that this one does have, and it seems like they're doing that medium range pack in a lot of the trim levels now. And that's, again, that's probably a cost cutting measure on Ford's part. They've been bleeding money on this electric truck since it came out. They're cutting content out of the truck every 6 months. So it just is what it is. But that wraps up the towing review here on the F-150 Lightning. So now, next month, if we go on our annual fall camping trip, I've got some good data and I can look at some maps and plan ahead before we leave. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I have to say, a month into this, I'm loving this truck a whole lot more than I expected to. I really am. This thing, it's actually pretty sweet. You know, the capability that it has, the functions that you can get, the functionality you can get out of this truck that you can't get out of a gas or a diesel truck. I mean, just things you wouldn't think of, you know, during ownership. Maybe we'll talk about those things some more in some coming videos, but this thing is sweet. I'm loving this more than I thought I would. It's pretty awesome so far. I'd love to put some good tires on it, but then you're going to kill the efficiency even more, you know? So it's like a conundrum. But I mean, that's true of any truck though, really. So, all right, I'm going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll talk to you later.